to take a live look at Tel Aviv and the protests that are happening there. We're being told that you can see actually in the background of that video, there's a fire going on, a fire pit of some sort. Protesters blocking highways, really speaking to the desperation and sense of urgency and the anger around the 6 hostages that were found dead in Gaza. We've been talking all afternoon and really all morning here on News Nation about this. The call for a ceasefire, for some negotiation to some level, whether it be on Israel's side, the United States obviously helping that, and getting together obviously with Hamas and finding a solution to get these hostages home. You see, oh goodness, there you see a officer, it seems like, or somebody with the IDF on a horse, and protesters kicking that horse. We're hoping the situation there does not get more violent, but this video you are watching just speaks to the anger, the outrage, the grief happening in Israel right now. All right, joining me now to discuss is GOP strategist, former Senate candidate for New Jersey, Alex. Oh, apologize here. Oh, we're going to talk to New Jersey candidate for New Jersey, Alex Zdan. Alex, just want to bring you in really quickly here to talk about what we're witnessing, what we're watching right now. There's video from Tel Aviv. You see fire, smoke, outrage from protesters, speaking to the level of anger, grief, and wanting some resolution here. What are your thoughts in terms of what is happening right now in Israel? What has happened with this latest update around these 6 hostages found dead?
Well, let's take those two at separate issues. Yeah. Obviously, the deaths of the hostages are horrific. I grieve for each one of those families. We saw that footage that you showed earlier about the family that spoke at the Democratic Convention just a few weeks ago. They were hopeful that their loved one would return home, but instead, that loved one was barbarically and brutally murdered by Hamas. The latest information indicates that the killing may have taken place 48 to 72 hours ago. This is a deliberate and provocative act by Hamas. President Biden saying that Hamas leaders will pay. They should pay. Separately, you're seeing in these images and in the reporting that we've got out of Israel over the past few weeks, the tension in a society that, yes, is at war with Hamas, but there is conflict within that society over how best to do that. That includes a possible or a reported shouting match between Benjamin Netanyahu and the defense minister during the war cabinet meeting, the divisions and separations in Israeli society over how exactly to continue to respond to that horrific October 7th attack and keep Israel safe, ongoing.
Let me ask you this, because we just read a few moments ago that former President Trump just responding, and one of the things that he has said that if he was president, this would have never happened. Do you think that's true? What are your thoughts in terms of how things would be different under a different administration?
The answer to that question is unknowable. True. Obviously, we're going to have a new administration on January 20th of 2025, one way or another. I certainly hope it's a Trump administration, but either way, whoever occupies the Oval Office come January is going to be faced with an ongoing conflict in the Middle East. And we've got to remember, too, Hamas and Hezbollah are not the only players here. The specter of Iran, and even behind Iran, Russia, is looming very, very large. Don't forget, we are still potentially bracing for Iranian retaliation for killings that Israel conducted. They've been rattling the saber strongly, but nothing major has come yet since that attack in April that fortunately Israel was able to repel. I think that a lot of national security folks want America to be more focused on the Pacific, but obviously the Middle East is still a powder keg.
What about this? So let me ask this another way really quickly here. One other thing that President Trump, or former President Trump, said is that if he were in office right now, or when he gets in office, if he wins this election, he will make sure this ends immediately. I've been talking to people all the last 2 hours or so, and everyone's saying the same thing. This is a really difficult situation. How would Trump be able to end this any quicker?
The one thing that President Trump has that President Biden and Vice President Harris don't is a very close relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. I believe that former President Trump, if he were to come back into power, would utilize that relationship and make sure that American and Israeli interests line up. America obviously has been a valued partner for the Israelis, whether it comes to munitions, whether it comes to our pilots actually participating in shooting down Iranian drones and cruise missiles back in April. That relationship between Israel and the United States is more important than ever. And I believe that President Trump is in the best position to maximize that relationship, to keep Israel strong and safe and America strong and safe because of that close relationship that he has had for a very long time with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Obviously, the election is in November. A president, a new administration, whether it's Harris or it is Trump, doesn't go into effect until January. Between now and then, with the level of violence anger that we're seeing right now in Tel Aviv, do you think anything is going to happen to make a difference here, to honor the deaths of these 6 people by making progress in this situation?
Well, like your previous guest seems to point out, Hamas has continually been rejecting these ceasefires that have been proposed, or these deals that have been proposed. It's incumbent on Hamas to stop their war against Israel, to release the hostages. Don't forget, you reported potentially as many as 100 hostages still being held by Hamas. Releasing them would be a long way towards making sure that this situation does not continue to get exacerbated. People are dying, families are suffering, and it has to stop. But the end of this conflict begins with Hamas.
Really appreciate your time and insight, Alex Zdan. Thank you so much. Right now, for everyone watching, you're seeing live video in Tel Aviv, the community there protesting, obviously angry, very frustrated. We're told blocking highways. We saw a few seconds ago lighting fires in pits in the middle of the street, and even at some point appearing to kick the horse of police officers. This is just the growing anger over the deaths of 6 hostages killed by Hamas, according to Israeli officials. We have been covering this story. We will continue to do so after a quick break.